Well, it's Sunday, and it's July 17th, 2011, and I feel it's time to do a public service in that an alarming new stimulant has cropped up called bath salts, and it's being sold all over the place, and it's killing people. Bath salts. It's like another high-powered form of upper, I guess. And it says Dr. Jeffrey L. Narmy could not believe what he was seeing this spring in the emergency room at Schuylkill, at Schuylkill Medical Center in Pottsville, Pennsylvania. People arriving so agitated, violent, and psychotic that a small army of medical workers was needed to hold them down. That sounds great, huh? That sounds good. They had taken new stimulant drugs that people are calling bath salts, and sometimes even large doses of sedatives failed to quiet them. There were some who were admitted overnight for treatment and subsequently admitted to the psych floor upstairs. Dr. Narmy said these people were completely disconnected from reality and in a very bad place. Similar reports are emerging from hospitals around the country as doctors scramble to figure out the best treatment for people high on bath salts. The drugs started turning up regularly in the United States last year and have proliferated in recent months, alarming doctors who say they have unusually dangerous and long-lasting effects. Bath salts. Ooh. Though they come in powder and crystal form like traditional bath salts, hence their name, they differ in one crucial way. They are used as recreational. Turn to page 4. They are used as recreational drugs. People typically snort, inject, or smoke them. Recreational drugs. Bath salts, the recreational drug. Let's have some fun. Let's get high, totally psychotic, and kill ourselves. Poison control centers around the country received 3,470 calls about bath salts from January through June, according to the American Association of Poison Control Centers, up from 303 of all 2010. So bath salts are catching on. Well, that's terrible. I mean, that's too bad. Some of these folks aren't right for a long time, said Karen E. Simone, director of the Northern New England Poison Center. If you gave me a list of drugs that I wouldn't want to touch, this would be at the top. Bath salts, the top of the poisonous, dangerous drug list. Even more poisonous than heroin, I suppose. And heroin is like as they call it, heroin. Heroin was the big drug of jazz and everything that I got warned against when I was a kid. I never took heroin. However, I did smoke a little grass. Yeah. I didn't really care for it. That's why I don't keep doing it. And I quit smoking anyway, so I didn't really want to bring stuff back into my lungs. But I did drink as a teenager, yes, and we did have amphetamines, dexedrine pills, little heart-shaped pills that would definitely affect your mood. And if you had a couple beers with them, you'd get very high for a minute and pay for it for about 3 days. But that's another story. And you eventually, if you're lucky, and you've got to be lucky, you get through it and you learn that this is not really the state that you want to function in, because you may have something more important to do, in your own opinion, you know. But that's just me moralizing. Forget it. I got lucky. I got through it. And by 23, was able to see the benefits of trying to use my creativity and my talents and my brain to have fun. Just to have fun, like I'm doing right now, having fun. This is what the blog is all about. Me having fun. The blog. This is what my daily videos are about. just talking, having fun. It is fun for me, and I hope it is for you sometimes, because people say, well, so anyway, back to bath salts. At least 28 states have banned bath salts, which are typically sold for $25 to $50 per 50 milligram packet at convenience stores and head shops under names like Aura, Ivory Wave, Locomotion, and Vanilla Sky. That's nice. I think the head shops should just stop selling them, unless, if they're that dangerous, the guys there should just stop. Just take them off the market. I know it makes money for you, but it's killing people. Most of the bans are in the South and the Midwest, where the drugs have grown quickly in popularity. But states like Maine, New Jersey, and New York have also outlawed them after seeing evidence that their use was spreading. Oh. The cases are jarring and similar to those involving PCP in the 1970s. Some of the recent incidents include a man in Indiana who climbed a roadside flagpole and jumped into traffic, a man in Pennsylvania who broke into a monastery and stabbed a priest, and a woman in West Virginia who scratched herself to pieces over several days because she thought there was something under her skin. Nice, bath salts, good stuff. She looked like she had been dragged through a briar brush for several miles, said Dr. Owen Lander, an emergency room doctor at Ruby Memorial Hospital in Morgantown, West Virginia. Morgantown, West Virginia. Bath salts contain man-made chemicals like mephedrone and methylene dioxypyrovalerone. Here, you tell me how to say that. Methylene dioxyprovalerone. Methylene dioxyprovalerone, or MDPV. I would think MDPV. Also known as substituted cations. Both drugs are related to khat. Ah, good old khat. You see the guys in West Africa chewing khat. An organic stimulant found in Arab and East African countries that is illegal in the United States. Oh, it's illegal. Bath salts contain man-made chemicals like mephedrone and MPVD, illegal in the United States. They are similar to so-called synthetic marijuana, which has also caused the surge in medical emergencies and has been banned in a number of states. Synthetic marijuana. In March, the Drug Enforcement Administration used emergency powers to temporarily ban 5 chemicals used in synthetic marijuana. 5 chemicals. Which is sold in the same types of shops as bath salts. Well, now, those little shops are not good. They're not selling good things. Okay. Shortly afterwards, Senator Bob Casey, Democrat of Pennsylvania, asked the agency, some agency, to enact a similar ban on chemicals in the bath salt. It has not done so, although Gary Boggs, a special agent at DEA headquarters in Washington, said the agency had started looking into whether to make MDPV, which we mentioned earlier, and mephedrone-controlled Schedule I drugs like heroin and ecstasy. They started looking into whether to make. Oh, wait a minute, this sentence does not make any sense. It has not done so, although Gary Boggs, a special agent at DEA headquarters in Washington, said the agency had started looking into whether to make MDPV and mephedrone make them controlled Schedule I drugs like heroin and ecstasy. Whether to make MDPV and mephedrone controlled Schedule I drugs like heroin and ecstasy. Now that's one hard sentence to figure out, to tell you the truth. Not good English. Times fell backwards on that one. Mr. Casey said in a recent interview that he was frustrated by the lack of a temporary ban. There has to be some authority that is not being exercised, he said. I'm not fully convinced they can't take action in a way that's commensurate with the action taken at the state level. I'm not sure they can't take action that is commensurate with the action taken at state level. Okay. Senator Charles E. Schumer, Democrat of New York, introduced federal legislation in February to classify bath salts as Controlled 1 scheduled substances, but it remains in committee. Why? I don't know. Meanwhile, the drugs remain widely available on the internet. Bath salts widely available. And experts say the state bans can be thwarted by chemists who need change only one molecule in the salts to make them legal again. One molecule to make them legal again. And while some states with bans have seen fewer episodes involving bath salts, others, where they remain fully legal, like Arizona, are starting to see a surge of cases. Great. Dr. Frank Lavecchio, an emergency room doctor at Banner Good Samaritan Medical Center in Phoenix, said he had to administer general anesthesia in recent weeks to bath salt users so agitated that they did not respond to large doses of sedatives. General anesthesia. Oi. That's a real oi. They kind of knock them out completely. Gee. Oh, Dr. Justin Strittmatter, an emergency room doctor at the Gulf Coast Medical Center in Panama City, Florida, said he had treated one man whose temperature had shot up to 107.5 degrees after snorting bath salts. You could fry an egg on his forehead, Dr. Strittmatter said. Oh, good. That's nice. Other doctors described dangerously elevated blood pressure and heart rates, and people so agitated that their muscles started to break down, releasing chemicals that led to kidney failure. Ooh. Mark Ryan, the director of the Louisiana Poison Center, said some doctors had turned to powerful antipsychotics to calm users after sedatives failed. If you take the worst attributes of meth, coke, PCB, LSD, and ecstasy and put them together, that's what we're seeing sometimes. Oh, terrific. Bath salts. We're talking about bath salts. Anybody who happens to tune in, just stay away from them. Kill you. And it will. I'm not kidding. I'm kidding around, but I'm not kidding around. Dr. Ryan said, some people who used it back in November or December, their family members say they're still experiencing noticeable paranoid tendencies that they did not have prior. Oh good. Bath salts. Before hitting this country, bath salts swept Britain, which banned them in April 2010. Experts say that much of the supply is coming from China and India, where chemical manufacturers have less government oversight. Blame it on the Chinese. Chinese carp, Chinese bugs, Chinese viruses, Chinese flu, and now Chinese bath salts. My gracious. They are labeled not for human consumption, which helps them skirt the Federal Analog Act, under which any substance substantially similar to a banned drug is deemed illegal if it is intended for consumption. Last month, the drug agency made its first arrests involving bath salts under the Analog Act through a special task force in New York. Undercover agents bought bath salts from stores in Manhattan and Brooklyn, where clerks discussed how to ingest them and boasted that they would not show up on a drug test. We were sending out a message that if you're going to sell these bath salts, it's a violation and we will be looking at you, said John P. Gilbride, special agent in charge of the New York Field Division of the Drug Enforcement Agency. It really shouldn't be against the law. It should just be a big, strong, common sense deal. That's what I think. It does not seem to work to make drugs against the law. It just creates problems and spends money and stuff like that. There's much better ways to spend that money than making drugs illegal. I know. Education. But I think that's the answer. I think you've just got to make sure that everybody goes to school, everybody hears about it, Everybody knows about it. Everybody is aware of the fact that drug salts and methamphetamine and PCPs and all that stuff are ruinous. And just put signs up. You know, just spend the money putting signs up so people know. Because people who are determined to do it will do it. They will do it. I mean, suicide is not against the law. And certain people are just going to do it. The authorities in Alton, Illinois, are looking at the Analog Act as they prepare to file criminal charges in the death of a woman who overdosed on bath salts bought at a liquor store in April. Okay, well, see, the people in the liquor store should not be accused of murder. I mean, that's why it makes the law terrible. Because they didn't murder her. The woman murdered herself, even though they sold it to her. Yes, I know. They shouldn't have sold it to her. Absolutely. And they should know better. And they should. But they probably didn't. We think we can prove that these folks were selling it across the counter for the purposes of humans getting high, said Chief David Hayes of the Alton Police. Oh, I'm sure they did. I'm sure they did. There's no question about that. They knew what they were selling, but they didn't know how dangerous it was, nor, I mean, they're selling alcohol. People can do the same thing with alcohol, and do all the time. So one's very illegal, and the other's simply faster acting. You know, so illegal doesn't work. I mean, murder should be illegal, yeah. Still doesn't work. People still murder each other. We think we can prove that these folks were selling it across the counter for the purposes of humans getting high. Humans getting high. My gracious. Said Chief David Hayes of the Alton Police. Chief Hayes and other law enforcement officials said they had been shocked by how quickly bath salts turn into a major problem. I like that. There's an article I did on methamphetamine use in a little town in Missouri, which I'll have to look next to this, because there's a little town in Missouri where even they're using so much methamphetamine that even the sheriff is high on it, and everybody knows it. I have never seen a drug that took off as fast as this one, Chief Hayes said. Some other people said that some people on the drug could not be subdued with either pepper spray or tasers. Boy, that's some drug. Now, that's the kind of drug you want to give your army in battle. I mean, let's face it, there's a place for this, and I'm sure the Army knows about it. I'm sure that the Marines and other people would consider that. I'm talking realistically, practically speaking, in battle, what an asset that would be. Couldn't be stopped by tasers and pepper spray. Wow, talk about superhuman strength. Chief Joseph H. Merchant of the Pottsville Police said the number of bath salt cases had dropped significantly since the city banned the drugs last month. But before the ban, he said, the episodes were overwhelming the police and 2 local hospitals. Really? The ban really worked? Okay. I wonder if it just hasn't gone somewhere else. We had 2 instances in particular where they were acting out in a very violent manner, and they were tasered and it had no effect. He said one was only a small female, but it took 4 officers to hold her down along with 2 orderlies. That's how out of control she was. Now that is some drug for fighters, except they probably wouldn't know where the hell to go or what to do. They'd probably be too crazy to really do anything organized. But that's an amazing thing. Now, let us repeat. We had 2 instances in particular where they were acting out in a very violent manner, and they were tasered, and it had no effect. They weren't acting out, they were acting. They weren't even acting, they were just doing. He said, one was only a small female, but it took 4 officers to hold her down along with 2 orderlies. That's how out of control she was. Wow! Bath salts, ladies and gentlemen, bath salts. You might consider avoiding them. It's not going to help you live a long, happy life, in my opinion. Bath salts.